Welcome to the Business Talk podcast. I'm your host Deepak from India. We are honored to welcome Dr. Gerd Gigerenzer, Director of the Harding Center for Risk Literacy at the Faculty of Health Sciences, Brandenburg, University of Potsdam, and partner at Simply Rational, the Institute for Decisions, as our distinguished guest on today's podcast episode. Dr. Gerd is the former director of the Center for Adaptive Behavior and Cognition at the Max Planck Institute for Human Development and at the Max Planck Institute for Psychological Research in Munich, a professor of psychology at the University of Chicago, and the John M. Olin Distinguished Visiting Professor at the School of Law at the University of Virginia. He is a member of the Berlin Brandenburg Academy of Sciences, the German Academy of Sciences, and the British Academy, and an honorary member of both the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and the American Philosophical Society. He has received honorary doctorates from the University of Basel, the University of Southampton, and the Open University of the Netherlands, and is a Beaton Fellow at the Darden Business School, University of Virginia. His work has been recognized with numerous awards, including the American Association for the Advancement of Science Prize for the Best Article in the Behavioral Sciences, the Association of American Publishers Prize for the Best Book in the Social and Behavioral Sciences, the German Psychological Award, and the Communicator Award of the German Research Foundation. His widely acclaimed popular books, Calculated Risk, Gut Feelings, The Intelligence of the Unconscious, and Risk Savvy, How to Make Good Decisions, have been translated into 21 languages. The Swiss Death Viral Institute has distinguished Dr. Gerd Gigerenzer as one of the top 100 global thought leaders worldwide. His academic contributions include Simple Heuristic that makes us smart, Rationality for Mortals, Simply Rational, and Bounded Rationality, co-authored with Nobel laureate Dr. Reinhard Gestein. In Better Doctors, Better Patients, Better Decisions, co-authored with Sir Mir Gray. He demonstrates how better informed doctors and patients can improve healthcare outcomes while reducing cost. In collaboration with the Bank of England, he leads the project Simple Heuristic for a Safer World. Over the years, he has trained US federal judges, German physicians, and top executives in decision making, risk assessment, and understanding uncertainty. In today's episode, Professor Gerd Gigerenzer shares insights from his latest book, How to Stay Smart in Smart World, Why Human Intelligence Still Beats Algorithms, published by the MIT Press. It's my pleasure to now welcome Professor Gerd Gigerenzer to the conversation. Professor Gerd, thank you for graciously accepting our invitation. It's an truly honor and privilege to have you with us today.
It's a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you. Professor, in your book, you argue that human intelligence still outperforms algorithms in many real-world situations. Could you explain why intuition and judgment remain essential even as AI becomes more sophisticated?
Yes, please. So, when we talk about AI, we typically mean deep neural artificial networks, such as large language models. And these are statistical machines, which can be amazing in situations which are stable, but are not very good in situations that are unstable, uncertain. So, for instance, the deep neural networks, like large language model, like ChatGPT or Gemini, they work on a fairly stable corpus of words and their intercorrelations that may change in 20 years a bit and so on, but it's fairly stable. It's a bit like chess. And this is the world where this type of complex models succeed. And particularly in chess, it's very clear that we cannot keep pace. But in situations of uncertainty, where tomorrow is not like yesterday, it's easy to see that big data doesn't help you much, because big data is always from the past. And if tomorrow is different, then making a prognosis with the past misleads you. And the human mind evolved to deal with uncertainty, not so much with stable world, which is easy. And and uncertainty comes, of course, from nature, but also from other humans. And it also comes from viruses like the flu or COVID. And in these situations, for instance, predicting the flu, simple heuristics that rely on only a few important variables can predict the future better than highly complex algorithms. So, in short, the human mind excels in situations of uncertainty. And the artificial intelligence, in the sense of deep neural networks, excels in situations that are well-defined, like chess and Go, or industry applications, or at least stable, like the corpus of words in a language. And that's why, and the difference explains you why AI can beat the best human chess players, but not find us the best romantic partner for life.
Professor, in the book you discuss the Russian tank fallacy in relation to self-driving cars. Can you explain what this is and how it illustrates the limit of AI in uncertain environments?
Yeah. So there are actually two important fallacies that, and the one is the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, and I explain this in a moment, and the other one is the Russian tank fallacy. Now, what is it about? It's about if you hear news that a deep neural network would have predicted something, a disease, or classified 90% correct, then be aware about the possibility of a Russian tank fallacy. So the term comes from an urban myth, according to which the US military wanted to find a system that can tell US tanks from Russian tanks. And so there were, in the usual way, you have thousands and 10,000s of pictures, and the neural network is trained to tell the Russian from the American tanks. And finally, it could do it almost perfectly. But when the system was used in the real world, where there were real Russian tanks, it was a flop. Why? By by looking back at the pictures, one saw that the pictures of the US tanks were taken with blue sky. The pictures of the Russian tanks were taken with cloudy skies. So the machine has detected the perfect hue, clouds. But it doesn't help you outside your pictures. So this is the Russian tank fallacy. It is happening in many situations. For instance, in medicine, most acclaimed system that can tell patients at risk from patients at little risk are only tested on the computer. That's done by out of sample prediction. You have thousands of pictures and you've divided them two, and you test your model on, you fit the parameters of the model on one half, say, and test it on the other one. And that's done many, many, many times. And that doesn't protect you against the Russian tank fallacy. There might be a cloud. So in a famous example, the researchers we're trying to find a system that can tell patients at high risk or low risk of some disease, and the system did out of sample prediction, and it was almost perfect, but it failed in the next hospital. And here it was not cloud, but the system detected whether the X-ray has been taken at the X-ray department or with a portable X-ray machine. And of course, all the healthy patients were sent into the department, only those at high risk and in bad shape. The nurses and the doctors came to them and used a portable machine, and that was the cloud in this case. Yeah? So always ask, always look closely whether a system, here a predictive system, has been tested in the real world. So in another hospital or in the real world of Russian tanks.
Professor, algorithms are increasingly used in the justice system to predict recidivism. What are the main risks of relying on these black box systems, and how can humans stay in control?
Yeah. So an important distinction that helps everyone to see whether complex algorithm may succeed or not is the stable world principle. The stable world principle says, if you're in a situation where tomorrow is like yesterday, where the world is stable, maybe even where there are clear rules as in chess and Go, yeah, then complex algorithms will succeed. And it will be, in many cases, much better than humans. But if you're in an unstable world, if there's uncertainty, that doesn't necessarily hold. In this world, there is humans and also simple rules, like simple heuristics, can succeed. And the one illustration is the autonomous cars. So we have 5 levels of cars. Level 1 of autonomous cars. Level 1 is just a distance machine. Yeah? Level 2 is what we have now, that many systems go together to allow automatic parking. And so it goes on, and level 5 is the self-driving car. That is defined as a car without a human backup that can drive safely under all conditions. That's very important because we are misled all the time about. So Elon Musk tells us self-driving cars are around the corner. So every year, since at least the year 2020, he's announcing that there will be, at the end of this year, there will be self-driving cars. Level 5. No, they don't exist. It's just marketing hype and attention grabbing. And why do they not exist? Because of the stable world principle. This is not a stable world, the regular traffic. And the largest problems are we, human drivers, that don't follow rules. So there's a second principle, which I call the adapt to AI principle. If there is no stable world and we want autonomous cars, in this case, then we need to make the world stable, or more stable at least. And that's what that was the real future may be. And that's called level 4 cars. A level 4 car is a car without a human backup, but it cannot drive everywhere. We have level 4 cars in the US, in Phoenix, in China, in various places, but they drive only in some places. So the future would be, in this case, a city where our level 4 robot cars where everyone can enter, which bring you to faster public transport. And that would actually solve the problem of overcrowded, overparked cities, because the consequence of level 4 is, and they adapt to AI principle, that humans are no longer allowed to drive. I mean, to drive themselves behind the steering wheel. And probably the cities which are level 4 cities, the streets will have to be redesigned, the city will have to redesign so that no pedestrians, no cyclists can ever be on the street, so that these level 4 cars have a safe and certain environment. That's another important distinction. So complex algorithms work in a stable world, and the more stable, the better. If the world isn't stable, then we can, if we want, adapt the world to the limited competences of AI and make it more safe. In this case, get all humans off the road as drivers and everyone else. And that's a possible future. Self-driving cars is an illusion, but a very successful one.
Professor, in matters of love and relationships, algorithms often fail. Why is finding a romantic partner fundamentally different from games like chess where AI excels?
Yeah, because there is surprise and uncertainty. and so there are algorithms that try to match partners. They exist in Europe, in the US, but also in India. So the matching between partner on the matrimonial sites that exist in India, there are more and more companies who offer you your services. It's no longer the parents, it's an algorithm. And allegedly, the algorithm is more objective than the parents and knows more about you, and Google knows anyhow much more about you than yourself. So the marketing hype is. The problem is that studies show that so if you are on an online romantic love agency that has a matching algorithm, that despite there are many offers, the chance to find a good partner, so that a couple gets together. We don't know what happens 5 years later, but that two people meet themselves and find a big love is only in a year. What do you think? What chance do you have? It's about 5%. So out of 100 people who pay for the services, within a year, 95 have nothing. They just pay. And you can make a short calculation. In 10 years, you may have a 50-50 chance to find the right romantic partner. So that's not better than the traditional method. So in Europe, there would be, getting a dog and go out and talk to other dog owners, or go dancing, or traditional India methods in India, that is matching with the help of parents. So there's no evidence that online dating agencies do better. So then the question is why? It's a problem of uncertainty. It's not chess. So just think about if in chess the king could violate the rules and the queen would, in protest, would set the rooks in fire and walk off the board, then Alpha Zero would be at loss, and also chess machines. That's the human situation. And our intelligence is built to deal with these unforeseeable situation. And that's why where AI is of little help.
Professor, you explore the privacy paradox. People want privacy, but often give away their data. How can individuals navigate this tension while using digital services responsibly?
Yeah. So the privacy paradox is the following. Many people, so in surveys we have done in Germany, one of the many people complain that they don't know what happens with their data, what's being done, and what someone else knows about them. At the same time, when you ask them how much would you pay per month so that you could retain your data, three-quarters of Germans say nothing, not a single euro. That's the privacy paradox. And it is in most countries that we have looked at. It is interesting. Uh, it is less strong in countries which I think have some experience, like China and some Arabic countries. But in the West, we are blue-eyed. So we worry, but we don't want to pay for that. And what one can do is, of course, there are a number of very simple things that you can do that not everyone has access to your data. And but there is also governments should step in and do something. So, for instance, the situation being on Facebook or TikTok is something like that. Imagine there's a coffee house or a tea house in your city and it offers free coffee or tea. Everyone goes there. It's free. Great. And you can have wonderful conversations with your friends. Only in the tables are bugs, and on the walls are video cameras that record every word you say and with whom and how long and what the other person says. That's roughly the situation you're in when you're on social media. And in this coffee house analogy, there are sales people who constantly interrupt you and offer you personalized products. The salespeople are the customers in this coffee house, not you. The salespeople pay for your coffee. Your time, your attention is the product. So that's a way to understand how it is when you are on social media and don't want to pay because of the privacy paradox. One solution would be we should have a right to pay for our own coffee. And in my book, How to Stay Smart, in a Smart World, I made a rough calculation. How much a user of some meta services like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp would have to pay every month so that Zuckerberg, the owner, gets the entire revenue from patient, not the profit, the entire revenue. And so how much is that per month to get the freedom back? €2 or $2. That's a coffee. It could be done if governments would work in the interest of the public and not in the interest of the tech billionaires. And that wouldn't solve all problems, but it would solve some problems. The moment we don't have an advertised-based business model anymore, there's no need to do everything to keep people as long as possible on the site and cause this problem to young and old people. that they can't leave a site, that they feel this urge to come back. And then we have, meanwhile, situations where in some countries, the average 10-year-old is already several hours on social media and doesn't learn to have real social contact, gets depressed, gets anxious, despite having hundreds of friends. And here, both we as parents or as individuals need to control the devices, and also governments need to help and assist. After all, governments control behavior and access to certain data offline. We do not allow 10-year-olds to go in a brothel or in a sex shop or in a gambling institution, but we allow these, if they just click, I'm over 18 years old, to have all that. And we have now a problem in many directions that young people experience a different world than we have. And it's a world geared by business models.
Professor, many people fear AI will make humans obsolete. How does your book address the myth that machines will eventually do everything better than we can?
Yes, that's a myth. That's it. It's a total nonsense. Sorry. One needs to understand what AI can do, what it cannot do, and I've explained that already. So there is a large part of the world, everything that has to do with uncertainty, where we need humans. So why is this myth put into the world? So people like Sam Altman claim that GPT will morph into a superintelligence. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. Or Elon Musk warns, together with many others, that we should stop the development, maybe just for half a year. It's a weird idea, isn't it? There are different interests behind that. And it is marketing hype, getting attention. And also, there is also a component of tech religious faith. After all, California has a high proportion of people who go to church compared to, say, Italy or Germany. And there is also the dream of immortality, that one could upload one's brain into the superintelligence, which apparently is so stupid, if it would exist, that it would allow us to upload our mediocre brains. So the story of a superintelligence is marketing hype, techno-religious faith, and it helps people to get attention and also grants from the government, money from the government. And AI has suffered since its beginnings in the 1950s from hype, from overhype, again and again and again. And why do you hype? In order to get access to money, like research grants, and also access to attention when selling products. And most journalists who report about AI have little understanding of AI.
Professor, in your research, what strategies have you found most effective for making good decisions in situations involving uncertainty where algorithms might mislead us?
Yeah. So in situations of uncertainty, what helps you is simple algorithms, algorithms that focus on just the important things and ignore the rest. That sounds counterintuitive because we are told that more data is always better. The more complex an algorithm is, the better it is. But that's not the case. The more complex, meaning with lots of free parameters, the more the danger is that you overfit the data until you have real masses of data, which is only the case in a few situations. And so a second important thing besides simple algorithms that we call heuristics, which we can learn from human psychology. A second important aspect is human intuition. So human intuition is defined by a feeling that's based on years of experience with a certain topic that is quickly in our minds and we cannot explain it. So for instance, if a doctor sees a patient and feels today something is different with that patient, but cannot explain it, that's intuition. It's based on year-long experience with patients, and the better if the doctor knows this particular patient, and the feeling is quickly there, but the doctor cannot explain it. But then, what does a doctor do? Diagnosis, deliberate diagnosis, in order to find the problem. So this example shows one thing. Intuition and deliberate thinking are not opponents as it's depicted in, for instance, these dual system theories propagated by Daniel Kahneman and others. It's not an opposition. There's no system one and system two. But they go together. In this case, in this example of the doctor, the intuition is the motive that the conscious brain starts to act. And here we have something that is very difficult to program into an AI. This type of experience that is so important for invention and discovery. And that has been praised by Einstein, by the best chess players, not to talk about sports. Sports without intuition wouldn't work at all. But at the same time, in behavioral economics, people are constantly warned against intuition. And the misconception is that all problems could be better solved by algorithms. And at best, complex, opaque algorithm that you don't understand. If I don't understand it, it must be good. Yeah, that's an old paternalist device. Yeah? You make things so complex or laws so complex that people cannot understand the rules of a democracy.
Professor, you mentioned that smart technology should neither be feared unthinkingly nor trusted unconditionally. What practical steps can individuals and organizations take to maintain this balance?
Yeah, right. The problem is not in AI. AI is neither good nor bad. The problem is with the people behind AI. What is the motive of an Elon Musk, of a Zuckerberg, or the politician like Putin or Xi? Yeah. That's we need to bring. All this discourse about the superintelligence distracts from the real problem, how people use it. And what the individual person can do is to get smarter in a smart world is, for instance, to understand the distinction we have been talking about. Stable world principle, adapt to AI principle, so that one is not misled as a businessman to buy an AI for a problem which you cannot deal with. And for instance, predictive policing is an example. Predictive policing is highly uncertain, So to predict whether, when, where, and who will commit the next crime. But private companies sell their products, black boxes, to police. Most heads of police departments I've worked with have no understanding of AI. They don't know about the stable work principle. They buy it because others buy it. Mhm. And then they get misleading information about performance, where uh, either the Russian tank fallacy is being used, or and what it takes a sharpshooter's fallacy, all these types. So, in order to get smart, these are some of the key concepts one needs to understand. Other thing is, for instance, we know that digital natives have never learned how to find out whether a website is trustworthy or not. There are simple heuristics, so simple rules that everyone can learn quickly in order to get more smart for instance, here finding out if a website is trustworthy. So studies show that digital natives begin when they see a website, say about minimum wage. Is minimum wage a good thing or a bad thing? And they begin on the top and on the bottom, like you read a regular paper outprint. And then the judgments whether this is trustworthy is how cool the website looks, and maybe is a person with a PhD signed at the end, and then they think, oh yeah, I can trust what I say. Uh, a technique, a heuristic technique that's much more better is called lateral reading. Lateral reading means you start at the top, and the moment you understand what's it about, you leave the page. You don't continue reading, but you go to About Us and see who allegedly is behind that. And then you go and Google or use another search machine to find out who is actually behind that. And that requires a little bit of knowledge how to do this, but that can be taught. And then only then when you found out, in this case, that the website is actually from a PR agency that is paid by the industry who doesn't like minimum wage, then you can continue to read and start to understand. So these techniques should be taught in every school to every 12-year-old or earlier. And also other simple techniques that if you're on a search machine, don't click at the first entry. Still, about 50% of people in studies have surveyed in many countries, they click on the first entry, not realizing that's most likely not a relevant entry, but one for which the advertiser has paid most to the search machine. So there are, in part, simple things that we can learn to get smarter. And most important, keep your control. Don't get dependent of the device. Put the device aside for an hour, for half a day, and do something and learn to concentrate again.
Professor, I would like to conclude this episode with one last question. Looking ahead, how do you see human intelligence and AI coexisting? Are there particular areas where humans will continue to hold the advantage no matter how advanced technology becomes?
Yeah, certainly there are areas where humans will have their advantage, and that has to do first with uncertainty. Big data doesn't help you if the world is changing. Situation of uncertainty. It has to do with values. We have values, and we should stand to these values and not just try to build a supercomputer who has no values or just the values of the person who owns the supercomputer. So the values of an Elon Musk, for instance. Yeah. That's another point. There are values of democracy, of freedom, which are at the moment being threatened by people behind the AI, which are not always in the foreground, but Peter Thiel, I think everyone knows him, who thinks and says in public that freedom is incompatible with democracy. And what he seems, and many others seem to know, is an autocracy of a few immensely rich men, tech billionaires, who decide what to do. And all the messages about that Google knows you better than, yeah, they are just sent out that you at the end you believe, yeah. Oh, my assistant, what is it? It is, yeah, Alexa or anyone will eventually morph into a super intelligence that knows better for whom I should vote, whom I should marry, when I should get children. And that's the danger of losing control about one's own life.
Professor Gerd, thank you for once again for sharing your insight with us today. Your book, How to Stay Smart in a Smart World, reminds us that while technology is powerful, human judgment, intuition, and wisdom remain irreplaceable. We hope our listeners take away valuable lessons on how to navigate a world full of algorithms without losing their own decision-making power. It has been an honor and privilege to have you on the show, and we are looking forward to seeing how your work continues to inspire smarter thinking in both individuals and organizations. Thank you once again for joining with us today.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, Deepak. Bye-bye. Stay smart and think.